All right. Well, welcome everyone to, this is our last budget meeting with presentations.
Yes.
This is it. We've made it. Yep. So tonight is the social services budget, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if we'd like to get started, I'm going to go down the list that they gave me. We'll start with Downey's Community Partners.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. And you'll notice I'm without my cane tonight for the first time in a long time. Hi. Last year, Downey's Community Partners, and I'm sure you have this in your literature. Hi, new face. Hi. Provided $2,206,037.49 in aid to Ellsworth households across our broad spectrum of services. So typically, our procedure is to ask for roughly 5% of the value of the services rendered, which, if quick math, would be over $100,000. And I am here tonight asking instead for 5. And that, I'm sorry?
1,000, right?
5,000, yes, correct, thank you, I appreciate that. You know what? Today is my first day of vacation and my brain is already there.
Oh, good.
So,
You're on vacation. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I would love, any questions? I would love to field that. It was over 1,200 residents from the city of Ellsworth that we served. And I say over 1,200, it was, the ones that I can absolutely document, it was 1,222 residents. We do not count, we count with our transportation rides and not people. And we do know that we also served over 5,000 meals with our Everybody Eats program. You may know, I'm sure you've heard of Everybody Eats and the hot meal they provide every Monday, which is all volunteer run. So 5,332 meals. And so again, we're not counting people there, we're counting meals. So it's difficult to give you an exact number of residents that we served, but it's well over 1,200. So what else can I tell you, or what else would you like to hear, or what other questions might you have?
So the 2.2 million that you've mentioned here, is that for all the programs, it's not just for Ellsworth?
That is just for Ellsworth.
That is just for Ellsworth.
Across our entire service area, Tammy, we provide 15.8 million roughly
Okay,
in
all right.
services.
Just wanted to make sure.
But we do serve, of course, not just Hancock County, but Washington County, a swath of real estate the size of the state of Connecticut, actually.
Okay, thank you.
That's our service area. Yeah.
So if I take the 1,200 and divide it into the 2.2 million, that's $1,800 per person that you served.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that break down? That's food,
Well,
heat.
It depends on the individual, of course. Some people are, so for instance, we just finished recently, I think it was last week, we wrapped up the weatherization of a home here in Ellsworth.
Yeah.
And that one resident would be receiving over $8,000 and perhaps more in services. Weatherization alone is a very holistic, you're often doing some small home repair to bring the home fully up to a standard that it can be weatherized. Then you are making sure that all of your appliances are energy efficient. I mean, it's a whole, the standard for the Weatherization Assistance Program, otherwise known as WAP, is pretty stringent. And that alone, I mean, bare minimum 8,000. It's usually higher than that. So it will vary resident to resident, what that looks like. We really try to employ what we call a whole family approach. Often we are serving generations of the same family all at once. So there may be grandparents who are on a fixed income and they are actually the homeowners. And due to the fact that they're living off of Social Security, they need help heating their home. So they may qualify for HEAP. There may be, however, grandchildren in that same household who are in our childcare. At the same time, the parent, so the one in the middle, may be part of our financial coaching program. So, we can foreseeably be, effectively supporting or providing opportunities to 3 generations right within the same household. So that very quickly adds up to your $1,200.
Another question, sorry. So I noticed on here, the services provided is ERA, COVID Emergency Rental Assistance. Is that still happening? Is there still funds available for that, or is this gonna stop?
That has stopped.
Okay,
This-
so
This is
gonna
the
be-
tail end of that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, thanks for
So
asking.
that's like 1.1 million right there, so.
Right,
Yep.
it is. Yep. The thing about that program, administering that program, is that there was no money built in for administering that program, which is part of why we asked for the 5% of the services rendered, because that was a completely pass-through program. So it really did a number on a nonprofit like us, where it artificially inflates our budget, makes it look like we don't need any money, but we don't get any of that at all. In fact, there was nothing built in for us to answer the phone or to process the applications for it. It was solely a pass-through direct benefit to the end recipient. That program was not terribly, in my opinion, well thought out that way. It left a lot of nonprofits that were, tasked with, and, walking people through that application process and administering the funds. It left us, really sunk because we had to hire more staff to help with that program, and there was no compensation for that. Yeah.
I think, well, we've heard for the last couple of years, and I'm sure we'll hear this from everybody who's in the room, but it sounds like need is increasing, resources are decreasing, and that's the trend. At the same time, I've seen your vans all over the city, and today, like, parked in front of the Eagles Lodge for a while, transporting people. So you're out there, you're doing a lot of different incredible things, so thanks for the work.
You'll also see, if you were paying attention, one of our vans parked in front of Harmon's today.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one of the things that we really need help with, is, the wear and tear on our vehicles, and then the cost of, as everyone has felt, you felt it with your own pocketbook, the cost of providing services, and everyone in this room, I'm sure will say the same thing, has increased. The meals, that we serve, that has, the cost of that has increased. It's just, it's daunting, to say the least. And under Michelle's advice, I raised our ask to cover for that, and so that I am not approaching you out of a budget cycle.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, so you will only see me this one time this year. So I just want to thank you for your partnership with us. I know that we have a fantastic relationship with the General Assistance Coordinator here, and you all have been so very supportive, and we are excited to be in this community. We are looking at expansion, if we can, in this community. It's just a matter of the funding. Any other questions?
Well, do come in and let us know how things are going, you know, even that you're not gonna be making an official budget request outside of budget season, but, you know, remind us about the thaw event when it comes
Absolutely.
time.
And I will, as soon as I get our annual report done, I will be sending that to all of your inboxes. And again, we value our relationship with you, and we thank you so much for your support. It means the world to us. So it really, truly does.
Can I ask you just one more question?
Yeah.
When you say Ellsworth, are you doing Ellsworth like literally, or are you using Ellsworth zip code? Is that how you determine who's Ellsworth?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question exactly. We ask people to identify where they are from, and it's an Ellsworth address for all of the so like HEAP, I mean, clearly, we would have to have the delivery address.
Yeah.
So,
So
and it
usually
would,
what a lot of people have been doing that we've just noticed is when they sort it in their system, they sort it by zip code.
Mm-hmm.
So then everyone that's 04605 is considered Ellsworth, even though it's much larger than Ellsworth.
I believe it's
Lemoyne,
done,
Trenton, Otis, Waltham.
yeah, no, I believe it's done by the city itself, and not by the zip
the zip
code.
code. Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank
because, you know,
I don't think it makes that
yeah,
much difference, I was just wondering, so thanks.
yeah, thank you, yeah. I mean, I live in Hancock, so I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we definitely, Hancock has a whole different, you know, we're not including Hancock residents, for instance, with the Ellsworth residents at all.
Oh, you have a different zip code, so.
Right, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I just have
thanks.
one more.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
We've talked a lot this year about how Ellsworth, City of Ellsworth, and its GA department interacts with different organizations and nonprofits. Do you, Charlie or Tina, have any thoughts or suggestions?
I'm writing down all my notes and
Okay.
if you guys, if any of you have any questions too over like the relationship with GA or any nonprofit, you guys can reach out to me too, with any questions.
Just worried about that housing assistance pulling off, and then if Tina's, you know, I was just thinking about that for your budgeting for next year. It's like, I don't know, it's probably difficult to predict if that's going to have the effect there, but I think there's a lot, like, you're right in terms of, there are a lot of programs that are kind of coming off this year. What is the actual policy implications of that? And that's a mix. A lot of worries with the COVID money coming in and out didn't come to fruition that we thought it would be, you know. But then think about the unemployment assistance sort of supplements. There was a lot of worries that once they pulled that, it would kind of spike unemployment. That didn't happen, so this one I'd be worried about, that it might send more to GA, but maybe it doesn't, so.
one of the ways we're seeing that as far as an implication is, I don't know if you're aware of our CARE fund, but that is a solely donor funded, so it receives no type of, you know, influx of any kind of, anything else, whether that be state, federal, or even foundation funds. It is just, you know, neighbor helping neighbor kind of fund, and that fund has been completely overrun as an.
So what does the CARE fund cover? What does it help with?
It covers just about everything, anything and everything. It's kind of the kitchen sink, if you will. Anything that folks cannot fully fund themselves. We usually ask people to come to us with a plan for, like, hey, I will pay for this portion of whatever it is. Whether that be a down payment to secure housing, you know, for like a down payment on an apartment or a rental, whether that be a car repair so they can remain employed, whatever that looks like. It is the fund that primarily keeps people from falling through the cracks. And unfortunately, there's not enough funds for that.
That's a federal.
No, it's solely neighbor helping neighbor. It is a you. It's those everyday people giving to that fund. There are no state, federal, or any other kind of funds that flow into that fund. And it has been overrun as the result of some
And
of,
then pulling back on the other steps that you're seeing.
yep.
And I know Tina mentioned that as well on some of the programs thing, I think she said, when the general assistance is kind of the last, those last pieces, so.
Yeah, and we, with any luck, we are able to serve your residents without putting a stress on your GA fund. Yes, that's what we exist for, truly. Okay. Yeah,
One more clarification, you're listing Everybody Eats as one of your programs, and I see it's on our list as having received money the last 2 years and not asking this year, so. just-
Everybody Eats formally, would you like to speak to that, Tracy?
Or if it's gonna come up later, that's fine, I just thought while you were here.
Everybody Eats is formally a program of Downey's Community Partners.
You've gotta come to the,
Oh, sorry.
if it's coming later, that's fine,
Oh,
I
well, I
just.
can make that footnote.
It's
So
not-
Everybody
it's not, 'cause they
Eats
didn't
was
put in
a,
request.
we were the fiscal sponsor for Everybody Eats in the past. They are now an official program of Downey's Community Partners. And therefore, that is part of the increase as well, because they used to approach you, we used to approach you. So it's all under one umbrella now,
Thank you,
if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great presentation.
Oh, thank you.
I'd love to meet with you all further at some point.
Oh, absolutely. I would be honored. And I actually have a very early morning flight out of Boston, so I am going to leave you all. And thank you so much.
Can't get out of Bangor right now.
Okay, sorry. The next is Eastern Area on Aging. Do we have anyone here from there?
We have a, did they submit?
They did submit,
All right.
so that's, their submission is in your packet. They were asking for $1,350.
It's level funded from the year before.
Yeah. It helps with Meals on Wheels, caregiver services, commodity supplemental food program, our furry friends pet food program, as well as the general information and assistance help.
Tina, are you in,
Oh, I'm sorry.
are you in communication with that?
I'm not, I don't, no, I haven't been in communication with them at all, probably for the past year.
They're based out of Brewer. They do work in this one too. Right, services. Oops.
And they did give a page, I mean, I'm like looking mostly at these things, like how many people, and they did give us one page.
Yeah, quite a bit of information. Okay. Downey's transportation, didn't put anything in. Hospice volunteers of Hancock County?
So I think you should still, if there isn't a request number in, like Downey's Transportation, I do believe they're on John's list. He kindly sent an email to you from last year, so it might be worth calling their name just in case they are here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, Downey's Transportation?
No.
What I'll do is I'll go through the ones that
Have-
submitted,
yeah.
and then I'll go back and see if anyone else is here that I didn't call.
Perfect.
Okay, Hospice of Volunteers, Hancock County. They have asked for $1,800. I think it's kind of obvious what they do. Wow, pretty simple financials. Okay, the next up, then, anyone want to make comments on this? All right, how about the WIC program? Asking for $10,400.
I used to go last.
Oh, I don't know, you were in the, right up at the top this time.
So my name is Tamara Wilson, and I am the director for WIC for Hancock and Washington counties. And I'd like to share some facts about our organization that may surprise you. Last year, 208 Ellsworth residents, and we used the town address, not the zip code, received $152,256 in WIC food outlay benefits. Since sending our request letter in October of last year, that number has increased to 232. Participants fall into the following demographics: pregnant women, postpartum women, both breastfeeding and non-breastfeeding, infants and children aged 1 to 5 years old. At 5 years old, they age out of the WIC program. WIC is a robust and engaged organization that provides so much more than just a customized food package. We have a registered dietitian on staff that allows us to support high-risk participants. Oftentimes, that is participants that are diabetic, have extreme food allergies, preemie babies, just to name a few. We work in collaboration with area pediatricians and maternal care providers to ensure continuity of care for those participants. I have an annual budget for both counties. We support both Hancock and Washington counties of about $1.4 million. A little over $1 million of that budget goes directly to food outlay costs. I don't ever see it. It doesn't funnel through my local bank account, if you will. It's federally funded, goes into the state of Maine bank account, and gets distributed on EBT cards. That leaves me about $400,000 to operate the program. So that's payroll and rent, utilities, trainings, program supplies. Each summer and fall, WIC also provides a farmers market nutrition program that is funded by the USDA's Federal Nutrition Service. Last year, $65,000 was allocated to my agency, and we had an 87% redemption on that. That's important because those dollars went directly to local farms. So stays right here. WIC is in a unique position to recognize gaps and needs for our participants, and we do the best we can to step into those spaces and provide what additional support we can. A short list of those additional benefits include diapers and infant care items, which seems to be the theme of the evening, free car seats through the state of Maine, loaner breast pumps, prenatal vitamins, breastfeeding supplies, infant clothing, comfort cases for children entering into foster care, books, toothbrushes, and oral hygiene items. We do health screenings. We do height, weight, iron checks. We do free well water test kits. We offer gas and grocery cards. Additional fresh produce comes through our amazing collaboration with Healthy Acadia. And we have an annual community baby shower. This will be our 3rd year. It's open to the public. And that is building quite a reputation. All of these things I just mentioned have costs associated with providing them, and I receive no additional funding through federal or state grants to cover those costs. I apply for private grants, work with local area businesses and civic groups, and depend on municipal funding to meet these needs for our participants. This month, WIC will also be joining the Ellsworth Chamber of Commerce to truly be in partnership with local organizations and businesses and community leaders. That'll be the first time we'll be doing that. It's a privilege to be in a position to support those in need. It may surprise you to know that 78% of our households have 2 parents, both of whom most likely would be working if daycare was affordable and available. Some of our families are also serving in the U.S. military. Sometimes we just need a little help, a little guidance. WIC provides those things to our participants. We do so proudly and without judgment. Local WIC agencies are provided autonomy so we can best meet the needs of our unique communities. And our formula for town requests is $50 per participant. So our request was $10,400, but we are grateful for past funding and deeply appreciate your consideration for this year. Any questions? I'm learning. I've got all my bases covered.
That was very comprehensive.
That was very, very good.
Thank you.
Can you, could you explain the communication, if any, with the city of Ellsworth? Is there a sort of a pipeline of
So we don't, unlike some of the other agencies in here, we don't actually avail ourselves of general assistance. What we do is we work in collaboration with everybody in this room, and we do referrals. So our participants get referred to Down East Community Partners or Healthy Acadians in some respects, community health and counseling services. So I don't need to necessarily come, and that's sort of, we do the referrals so they can get the right support.
And I refer clients that have not signed up for WIC to do so, so.
And eligibility is, if participants receive main care, they're automatically eligible for WIC. That's also true for SNAP and TANF. But if they don't have those, like our military families, there's an income eligibility guideline based on the number of members in your household and your income. Any other questions?
The farmer's market said there was a SNAP or an EBT available.
So WIC uses EBT cards. They're not the same as SNAP. They're their own thing. And the farmers market program runs from July 1st through October 31st. Farms have to participate in the program. So there's a training at the state of Maine level. It's done through an app. The farmer just scans a barcode for redemption. This year, that has been increased because food costs are so much higher, to $50 per participant. So if there are 3 eligible participants in a household, that's another $150 that they spend locally. They go right down here to the Ellsworth Farmers Market, and Happy Town Farms is one of our participating farms. So those dollars, even though they're funded federally, they come right back here locally to our farms. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, next is Friends in Action.
Hello, and I'm John Lindquist, Director of Friends in Action. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to make this presentation. I think everybody knows this, but just to reiterate, our mission is to empower older adults and individuals living with disabilities to thrive and live independently with dignity and a strong quality of life. And we do that through 2 different major programs. One is a transportation program, or a senior services program, which focuses very much on transportation, and the senior center here in the Moore building. The services are all free: the transportation, the home maintenance, food deliveries, all those types of things are free. We do have in the senior center, there is a small charge for things that go on there. The senior center does offer wellness and fitness programs designed specifically for older residents, enrichment classes like art classes and that sort of stuff. To give a little plug for the Eastern Area Agency, they also come in and they present Medicare. They present the Medicare class, so helping people who are about to go on Medicare figure out what to do. Of our clients, we have 1,200 plus clients and registered with us, and those are the ones that are registered to receive the services, not use the senior center. The only thing to use the senior center is to be a senior, to be over 55 years old. But anyhow, the clients who are residents of Ellsworth is 457. We've got 1,200 clients, 457, and again, it's in the city of or at least they have Ellsworth listed as the city in their address. Sometimes that's even outside Ellsworth, but anyhow. Trips for Ellsworth residents were 3,533 this is all 23 statistics. Meals, we serve meals in both Tuesday and Thursday in the senior center, and we've served 2,790 of those meals there. We've had about 2,500 coffee hour participants. Coffee hour is twice a week in the morning. We do food box deliveries again for the Eastern Area Agency. We do about 300, almost 400 food box deliveries. We do some 3,000 plus prepared meal deliveries. Those are primarily from St. Dunstan's and from the Congregational Church. They put the meals together, we deliver them. Fitness participants, it's 176 people a week. And that's not 176 different people necessarily. You know, someone might come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but there are 176 that are visiting. And then finally, we bring people on the transportation business. We deliver people to somewhere a little north of 300 retail operations in the city of Ellsworth. That includes taking people to the hospital, but also includes taking them to places like Hannaford and all those places. And finally, in the senior center, on average, we have more than 65 people coming through a day to use the facility. So all that adds up to, I believe anyhow, the facility is pretty well used. We've got a pretty good constituency, and we're doing the best we can with it. To do all that, we have 3 paid staff, including me. We have, and 94 volunteers. All the actual work is done by volunteers. The staff coordinates and allocates the resources. And again, most of the resources come from the volunteers. For instance, in the transportation program, the volunteers provide their car, their time, and their gasoline. Anyhow, our annual budget is, or at least in '23, was $318,000. Ellsworth residents receive about 70 to 75% of our services, and we're asking for $10,000, which is the same as last year, but it's about 3.2% of our budget. Questions?
It sounded like you said 457 Ellsworth residents of 1,200 total.
1,200
folks that you
total,
work with.
all of Hancock County.
Do you have a sense of why fewer than half of the total folks you work with would be using 75% of the budget? Is it just more activities that happen downtown?
Well, it's just for the transportation, it's easier to get volunteers to drive somebody from, you know, the Union River apartment up to Walmart than it is to get somebody to drive to Goldsboro. So there's a lot of that. Also, that number, not the 457, but the total, the percentage, includes people coming to the center, and it's a lot easier and a lot more attractive for people coming to the center who are close by. You know, there just aren't that many who want to drive 30 miles round trip to exercise.
Yep.
So, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to do this, but, so the senior center, when it was started, we had actually had an agreement with the council at the time for the $10,000 because there was, none of these services were in the city, the type that the senior center gives, and the transportation, I know that Dennis Community Partners does it, but this is a volunteer service that takes you to places other than where DCP takes them. But it also provides the kind of physical therapy, the health issue, the social side of it, which I will tell you, my mother goes to twice a week, and I put a doctor's appointment on one of her senior center days, and she was wild. I had to cancel the doctor's appointment because that's her social time. That's how she gets to do that. And it was such a service that they were providing that just isn't available really any other place, where it's specifically for seniors, where it's specifically helping those that need the social
socialization, the ones that are here in the wintertime, they can't go south and be in their communities and things like that. It's the only place in the city that provides this kind of service for them. So, that's just my
Thank
2
you.
cents. Thought it would help, sorry.
I hope that helped. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's good context.
Okay, next is loaves and fishes. Great. Great organization.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Tracy Schaefer, and I'm representing the Volunteer Board of Directors tonight for Loaves and Fishes. Our development volunteer coordinator, Max Dici, could not be here tonight, but I do have a copy of what he submitted, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. I think everyone here is most likely aware of the physical space we've occupied since October of 2022 and the expansion of that facility that so many of our neighbors came together to help support under the guidance of Andy Matthews, the previous board president. So we now are in that location, and in addition to the economic changes over the last few years, including COVID and inflation, we also have a more visible presence in the community within our own local vicinity as well as Hancock County. Simply put, more people find us now than they did parked behind the Unitarian Church behind the trees. So that's a good news story, because if people truly need help, we join with our fellow pantries and Good Shepherd Food Bank, and we want to get them the food they need. We also are a supplemental food source, so we're constantly looking at balancing everything we'd love to do and everything people would want us to do with what can we do and what are we able to do and what does that vision and reality look like. So in addition to maintaining the market of the pantry, our board and our 1.5 head count that we're fortunate to have hired just recently are busy also building out the vision that the board had at the time that they moved to the new location. So the teaching kitchen is up and operational. We have a few final enhancements to put in there, but we are currently offering 2 classes there. We have teamed with Annie Sargent of the Adult Ed Department, and we had drum class last week there in our portable classroom. And we're looking forward to doing more of that and becoming more of a location people can think about to come as a community and partake of anything. Not necessarily even being a member of the pantry or a neighbor that uses the pantry for food supplementation, but maybe someone who just wants to get together and learn cooking skills or hear more from Healthy Acadia. We had the 4th quarter hunger Hancock County-wide, Washington County hunger group in last, in our 4th quarter. Probably about 40 people that day came into the pantry for good exchange, information on grants, grant writing, various federal funding that is or isn't available, and all that was hosted out of our pantry. So Max, I noticed, is asking for a modest amount over last year's allocation, and we certainly thank you for that allocation. It's the largest city allocation we receive in terms of the financial dollars. In terms of the average percentage of ask, it's a little bit under the 3.7% that we traditionally look at for the cities, the general percentage that when we look at all the cities and all of the allocations. So you're right in the ballpark. If we bump that up this year, as he's asked, to $5,750, it represents, when I look at our budget, about 2.8% of the budget that supports the percentage of Ellsworthians using the pantry. Like WIC, we use the street address and the city name in our database. So with a $500,000 budget, we have 41% of that being allocated for a total of $2,005 for our residents, if you will, of Ellsworth. So when we look at what that represents in terms of a percentage, it's about 3.8%, $5,700. So, any questions? No questions? Yes, everybody does.
Oops, sorry, I was waiting. Does
Yeah.
anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but
Sure.
just what I was reading in the written material that you
Yeah.
had from Ellsworth, 896 people last year and 1,300 people this year, so that's a pretty big increase of Ellsworth residents who are using,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. And as I've become more familiar with this space and talked with fellow Pantronians, no, I don't know if that's a word, probably not, but those who are involved in a volunteer basis helping with all of these food pantries, these increases are one and the same, no matter what community it seems you're talking about in Maine. Southern Maine, northern Maine, our area around the coast, it doesn't seem to matter. These increases are just showing up. And I know in my own home budget, wow, I've been retired for 10 years, doing volunteer work in the community. And I looked back at what my anticipated volunteer budget was 10 years ago to live, and I look at it now, and it's 150% different than what I expected. And it's because of the cost of everything, insurance, gas, car, whatever, right? Food, of course. And so our people are all feeling that. And when I worked in reception, 80% of the SNAP participants do work. It's just often they're underfunded in their jobs. They don't have enough in terms of paycheck coming in to cover expenses. And the other piece I've seen personally working reception is new people coming in that have a pension, that own their home, for example, and yet with that Social Security and pension, they just need a little extra help with those groceries now because other expenses have gone up. So these are not your typical people I know years and years ago I thought of when I thought of food pantry. They're all of our neighbors, and they may be somebody you know very well or you've referred to our food pantry, and please do refer to our food pantry if we can be of assistance. Okay.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
In the past, clients have only been able to come once a month. Has that increased?
It has. One of the commitments of the new building and the capital campaign was more food, more people, more often. And we've joined pantries such as the Bar Harbor Food Pantry, and we allow people to come once every 7 calendar days. Now, what that does mean also, though, is depending on your family size, you are given a list of quantities, and it's also marked on the shelves, of what you can take during that shopping trip. Otherwise, you know, if it's unlimited, you end up with just way too much food being stored at the local kitchen, in their local kitchens instead of back at the pantry. And we did an example, actually before Andy left the board, and we went out and she bought everything, you know, put in her cart everything we could possibly have until we put limits on, and I think she ended up with like 25 cans of vegetables, you know, for the week. Now, we don't need that. None of us eats 25 cans of vegetables. So we reinstated the limits, and they make sense. So if you come in and you're a family of 1 to 3, you're going to get 2 cans of vegetables that week, 2 cans of soup. It's not Katie bar the door, because we're learning as we're going, of course. It's a much different and larger operation, but that has helped us immensely look at our budget and be in a position to budget and not just say, well, the donations are keeping up, so let's just keep going and going and going. We have to get to a point of sustainability over the years so that that building will be there doing the good work it's doing, you know, long term. So we're really into a real budget model that looks at sustainability and also, you know, what's the appropriate amount to offer in terms of supplemental food. And then also the education piece, working with our partners at Healthy Acadia, teaching Cooking Matters, different things like that, so that people will learn to use the fresh produce and some of the other things that we get and can maximize it. So, but it is once every 7 calendar days. And that we like because we've tried, like Good Shepherd has tried to encourage, to make that shopping experience as normal as possible. So people can come once a week. I don't know about you, but I grocery once a week for my family, my mother and myself. And so that's normal. Shopping cart is normal, not a utility cart. Putting things in grocery bags, normal, not using banana boxes anymore. So we're really trying to make it a very comfortable, welcoming place to come and have your dignity intact while you're getting some support. Anything else? Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Emmaus Homeless Shelter.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Stacy Herrick, and I'm the director of the Emmaus Homeless Shelter. First, I'd like to thank you for your support in the past and respectfully ask for your support to continue again this year. As a quick overview, we provide shelter, food, and clothing to our community. Some quick numbers from last year. 1,188 people, which is 404 families, accessed our food pantry. Tuesdays and Thursday mornings in our parking lot from 8:30 to 10, we give out free groceries. This is short date food that we pick up from Hannaford and Shaw's. 9,105 people, which is 1,511 families, access this service. Free clothing was provided to 867 individuals, which was 424 families. These are duplicated numbers though, and are not broken down by towns, but I'm learning still, so we'll have better data for those for you guys for next year. But it does give a good picture of how much these services are used. During the holidays, we have 3 different programs. Holiday food boxes for both Thanksgiving and Christmas gifts for children. We provided 276 people, which is 90 families with Thanksgiving food boxes. 385 people, which is 120 families for Christmas food boxes. And we provided Christmas gifts to 100 families, which was 256 children. Now for some specific data, because you guys have been asking us to do this for a couple of years. I did email it to you guys, and then I brought in paper copies so that everybody would have that available to them. So between 2021 and 2023, it costs an average of $104 a night to house a guest in our shelter. Our request of $3,750 will only cover approximately 2% of the actual cost of helping those who come to us from Ellsworth. If you look down to the second graph in orange, you will see in 2023 we provided 1,688 bed nights, and that is actual addresses in Ellsworth. That is not from our zip codes. If you take that number and you multiply it by 104 per night, the actual cost for Ellsworth residents equals $175,552. That was just for our shelter. That's not our other programs. And then the graph on the back just shows a breakdown of, that's about half of our guests at the shelter and the towns that they are in. As you can see, Ellsworth is one of the highest, tied with Bangor. And then back, like everybody else is talking about, to the front page, you can see the increase of bed nights at our shelter because of the need in our area. Is there any questions?
Do you have any explanation for the drop of bed nights in 2022?
I don't. It just happened to be, because that one is specific to Ellsworth. So it just happened to be who came and who didn't come. Yeah. Anything else?
Any other questions?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for the report as well. It's super helpful to
Yeah.
see.
SPCA of Hancock County? They requested $2,000. This is for the Prevent a Litter program. So I'm assuming that's for spaying and neutering the dogs or cats or animals.
Sounds like this is the first, they haven't requested this one?
No, I don't think they have. Oh, I don't remember that. Okay, does anybody have anything they'd like to mention on that? The next is Northern Light Home Care. Okay. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming it's.
It's the hospice. It's, right, it's their.
Oh, it's the hospice.
It's hospice and home care. We haven't funded them in the past because, nor Life Flight, because they bill for their services.
Oh,
Whereas hospice is Hospice Volunteers is a volunteer organization. Northern Light Home Care is a billing.
I getcha, okay.
Those three are nested under your place?
No, they just
so.
don't
They
know.
just
No,
have
it's
a
just
number.
they're new,
They don't
they're
have
new,
it.
yeah, they just don't have an account number yet.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
So Lifeline, I think we're out of everything. Down East Wood Bank. There he is. How you doing? Saw you on TV several times.
Yeah. Don't know how that happened, but. So my name is Tom Matthews. I'm a volunteer with the Down East Wood Bank. The Wood Bank is located in Surrey on Blue Hill Heritage Trust property, Meadowbrook Forest, if you're familiar with that hiking area. If you've hiked the area, you saw a lot of wood stacked up and piled up and or being cut and split. That was us. This past winter was our first winter serving Ellsworth. We served Ellsworth, Blue Hill, Surrey, Brooklyn, and Sedgwick. This past winter, we passed out wood to 156 families. 71 of those were from Ellsworth. If someone contacts us, well, let me jump back and say that the wood that we passed out is to help people who are experiencing some type of heating crisis. So if someone says they need some wood, they can come in and pick it up. We give them up to a half cord at a time. This is seasoned wood that's ready to burn. It's not green. It's very, very nice wood I would love to have in my house. So they can pick up the cord, half a cord. We try to limit it to a half a cord pickup per month. If someone tells us they really, really need it, we're not going to say no. They can come back and get more wood. I think probably 71 families being served in Ellsworth is kind of a low number, and I think it is low because this is our first year serving Ellsworth. Maybe the community wasn't aware of our services. That's why we're on television and radio and wherever we are, just trying to, get our name out there and our services out there so that people can be familiar with us. Let me mention the trust, Blue Hill Heritage Trust. Not only are we on their property, but they also serve as our fiscal agent of sorts. We're not a 501(c)(3), C3, whatever that is. But, so we work under them for all of that. They're great to work with. Not only do they give us the property, but they give us a lot of guidance in what we're doing. The funds that we're asking for, that we certainly appreciate you considering tonight, are for, what we would do with those funds is buy tree length hardwood. We can purchase that for half the price that a retail person would sell that for. If you buy firewood, that firewood has gone up to anywhere from $350 to $400 a cord now. We can purchase it for $150 to $175 a cord in tree length. Our volunteers will cut it, split it, stack it, and disseminate it. So we save a lot of money that way. The 71 families that we served last year, the wood that we gave out, that comes to, if that wood was purchased at retail value, that would come to about $13,000. We're asking to be considered for $1,000 in your budget this year. One other thing about funding, we receive no funds. All of our money for wood or anything that we do comes from personal donations that people give us that we're very appreciative of. We also receive probably, I don't have any real statistics for this, but probably 50% of the wood that we have comes from homeowners. We have storms around here frequently, so that kind of keeps us busy. And we, as long as it's hardwood, as long as it's not diseased or rotten, as long as it's easy to get to, we're all kind of old and we don't go way down in the woods anymore to pull trees out. As long as it meets some basic things, we'll come pick up the wood for you and take it to the wood bank, process it, and pass it out to neighbors in our community. We've got a strong feeling that people deserve the right to be warm, just like they deserve a lot of other rights. So we try to help them in that process. Most of the people that come knocking on our door, the reason that they do it is because of financial means, the lack of financial means. But we also have people like whoever, your boiler goes on the fritz. You can't get the boiler guy till next Thursday, but you've got a wood stove, you can contact us and we'll give you firewood. Maybe you didn't order enough last year and you give out on March 1st and it's still cold and you want some firewood, we can help you in that respect. So it's a lot of reasons that people can experience a heating crisis. It's not just that you didn't budget for it properly to get you through the winter. So this is the first year we served Ellsworth, as I said. That's just a ballpark of what we do. I probably missed something, but if you've got questions, I'll try to answer it.
Do you have any questions?
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there specific months of operation that you guys?
Generally, something like October, we get started when we know that it's beginning to get cold. We work year round. I was cutting wood this morning, just getting it ready for next winter.
Do you have anybody that comes to you to prepare for the winter? I wasn't sure. I've had actually a couple of people asking me if they have a place they could go in the summer or to get the wood in advance, and I wasn't sure.
Yeah, they can get it any time. We generally work, our volunteer days are generally on Saturday. We have a phone number, email address, and we're on Facebook, and they can contact us through one of those three ways, and we'll set up an appointment for them to come do that. We've heard a lot about education tonight. We also try to educate people who come to see us how to properly use a wood stove or a fireplace, how to clean your chimneys, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We also encourage them to not only come and pick it up, but to stay and volunteer. Because, again, we're all volunteer-driven, and we need their help, and we encourage them to pay it forward in any way that they can.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
Love to see you back here sometime in the winter, just to give an update on how the numbers are going and the increase in use and everything, and to remind people that,
Sure.
that you're there.
Sure. And I will be in touch with someone in this building, just as a reminder to, like if someone comes in and knocks on your door and says, hey, I don't know what to do, I'll make sure that someone that, I'm not sure who that is, I'll figure that out, but.
That would be
Tina.
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 Okay, all right, I kind of figured that, but I didn't know for sure. I'll give you all the appropriate information so that those
I'd
people will
appreciate
know
that.
where
Thank
to go, okay?
Great, thank you. I
Sure.
appreciate that.
So Ellsworth doubled the amount of wood that you gave out.
Yeah. The next closest was, and it's a smaller area, but Surrey and Blue Hill each had about 30 families that we represented, we served there. 71 in Ellsworth, and without a doubt, it'll be more than that next year, because I think the more Sonny Shepherd mentions us on the radio or whatever, our name gets out there, and they're aware that there is a service. A lot of the agencies represented here tonight have been around a while, we haven't. But,
Thank you.
Can I just have one more question?
Yeah.
If the need continues to increase, what do you think will be the first bottleneck? Would it be volunteer hours or?
we've got
access
great
to wood?
volunteers. We've got a great core group of volunteers that's there every Saturday, and if we call on them to do something, they'll step up and do it during the week or whatever. So I don't think volunteers will be the problem. I think if we begin to slow, this year we ran out of wood the 1st of April, and we had to turn down a few families. It was in April, so it wasn't terribly cold, but we don't ever want to have to be put in that position, just like the food pantries don't want to say, hey, we're out of food, et cetera. So I think if it, if something were to happen that we had to say, oh gosh, what do we do now? It's because we've run out of inventory. But fortunately, again, we can still have people call saying, Tom, can you come get this maple off my front yard? So that helps as well.
So if my husband's out there cutting down trees, which is something he loves to do.
For
Yeah.
fun.
Well, if he loves to cut trees, tell him to come volunteer with us.
Well, I'll tell him that too.
Yeah.
But if he has some to deliver to you,
As
some
long as it's a hardwood, as long as it's not rotten and doesn't have disease, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
We are on Facebook, Down East Wood Bank on Facebook. Our phone numbers are maybe on the information that you have in front of you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Maybe the Arbor
So by looking,
Commission
I
keeps it
don't
in
think
mind.
anyone else is here that hasn't spoken. We're down to 4. Do we want to adjourn early, or do we want to talk about, we haven't got our new budget books yet, so.
Can I ask one quick question?
Sure.
Actually, maybe I'll just ask John. Was the Ellsworth, so I just opened up what I thought was a blank spot to put all those in.
I just did the same thing.
And I found Ellsworth Garden Club stuff in what I thought was a blank spot. Did we do that through the?
That was
rec?
rec.
That was last week,
Okay,
right?
just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
It was the public works. Also, I think everybody eats.
Now I'm just picking numbers. I
Did you
picked
just want
10,
to talk to
but
about
they had
everybody
this
eats?
Oh, I think she,
But
Well, because it's under WHC, so it wouldn't be a separate, anyway, yeah.
we moved from physical sponsor to really a program, just like they have their transportation program, where
Yeah.
it's been wonderful.
So maybe just so I can finish up with just kind of a, next steps piece. We're kind of pencils down on the meeting side of this now, but the work continues with the team. We're kind of in a 2-week sprint cycle. Next week I'm out, Nate's out, Mike's out. So Mike and I are really rocking and rolling on, now that we're pencils down, we're bringing in, we had our initial meeting with all the department heads kind of about the end of the budget cycle and the presentation, and now we need to, everybody's gonna come back in and, taking some of the council feedback, what you wanted to see. Mike's been working on kind of standardizing all of the budget requests so that we can build a new book. I have, pretty extensive notes on what you all had made, but so we can make a new book that's standard formatting. I know Tammy, some of those great suggestions you made, just kind of based on the 2019 book, that we'll be preparing for the 22nd meeting where we've rescheduled. So it's a little bit of a couple-week break for you all. We hope to have something in anticipation of that, and I think in some ways that first meeting on the 22nd might be to reorient to the new book, to where we're at. We're going to try and, some of the suggestions on, there's been some staffing requests that are kind of across the board. There's what are the total kind of effect of the, collective bargaining agreements. Hopefully we're going to also have that top line number of the total commitment based on total request for departmental levels. There may be a little bit, I know typically the manager's budget kind of comes pre this process, but I feel like this is probably also my piece to have the manager's budget in there. So we'll try and orient you all to the book, kind of how it's been reorged with the most current data from staff, and then take some kind of feedback on that going into the second budget meeting to really be, okay, here's where we're at. Here's, what do you guys want to get to, based on kind of where we're at for those initial meetings. Also not, happy to also meet individually with folks during that process once we have a set budget book, to dive a little more into the details there. But those second 2 weeks, that sprint's all going to be about finalizing these books. The sort of concurrent stream, as you all know, that we're running is reconciling 2023, so that balance book, that sheet is is up to date, but also, we are hell-bent on 2024 and getting as close to actuals on that too. That's a big missing gap of like right now on how we're basing budgets, and we talked to department heads. The other big thing is the sort of encumbering process. I know 2-3 years of sort of, hey, there are some capital requests, there's some other things, what do we still hold? What are things to get left undone, so that you can see kind of the full picture of things as well. So we'll, be able to pass that budget on I think it's the 19th, maybe it's the 17th of June, 17th of June. So I've got a kind of a week where nothing before that. Hopefully it's pencils down that first week in June, so that we can, have a nice little, week off before we come in for that June meeting, and pass a budget. And then, I know we're also working on the kind of Cassell technology implementation, so starting FY '25, it's part of this new budget process, is we're taking the things that are kind of submitted individually, and putting them into the Cassell budget itself, and work with our team, so that these things will be locked in there, and especially next cycle. And then we'll have accounts payable, accounts receivable processes that are much more defined, and here's the expectations that starting in 2025 for FY year. All those processes are in there, and then, this should be a fair amount smoother. And if not, this conversation's recorded, so you guys can play it back for me when we do my salary review.
Accountability, I like that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But feeling in good shape with the team. It's been, a bit of a tough day. We had a lot to the board. I think we're gonna add a lot more to the board, but starting tomorrow, we're gonna start prioritizing what we wanna get done in this next couple weeks of sprints. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Anything else, team, that I'm missing?
No?
No? Can I ask a question? I don't have the budget book from last year, but is that fewer requests than we've gotten before? Because I remember there being a lot more than that, so I was just.
missing?
I just
think who is missing it?
I'm thinking
The
Next Step.
lobster?
Is Next Step in there?
The lobster guys didn't come back this year. Who else? I feel like they were also just.
Downey's Transportation
They were
didn't
way
submit
more
anything, and they've
organized.
submitted the same amount for.
I feel like their presentations were more organized and more smooth, so that worked.
Ellsworth Free Clinic.
That's right, they were here last year.
They've been coming every year for a long time.
Yeah, I was penciling in a late night tonight, so.
Your place.
I can try to reach out. So I don't think I had their contact. I wouldn't have reached out last year.
It should be in last year's budget book too.
Okay, I don't know.
So just to reiterate, to make sure, because I had a meeting on the 13th, we're not having that, right?
No, we
And I
canceled
know
out
that I
the.
think I got an email on it, but I just updated my calendar.
No worries, 22nd of May, 6 PM, that's our.
That's the next one, and then, because we got the council meeting on the 20th. So nothing the rest of this week and nothing next week?
Yes, correct.
Wow.
Um,
What am I gonna do with
Do
my
it
time?
by free
I know.
time.
No, I think everybody in some
Sunny
ways
tomorrow.
needs this.
It's gonna be sunny. You could eat outside. You don't get out on your back porch.
Right?
Because it's gonna be 60.
I actually think that's gonna help the team too, just to have a week of,
Yeah.
I'm
not
sure
that we
it
don't
is.
love getting here and trying to, but we really need to do some prepping and some other pieces. But yeah, the budget book's a big part of this sprint, and that reconciliation at 23. Had some additional emails with our accountant trying to finalize the additional non-attest work to really get that one over the hump. Because we also have the school dependency on that, where if we can't finish our audit, plus the, which requires the pooled cash to be reconciled for 23, then there's some Department of Education dependencies that can be affected, so we've got to get that done, we got to get a new budget book, we got the team to do it.
The finance meeting tomorrow, War Room, is going on as well?
Yep,
Upstairs?
every day.
8 a.m.?
8 a.m., yep, feel free to
I'll
drop
try
by,
it
or,
when I come by.
yeah, would love to see, I think you
I went
probably.
by this morning, it was fun up there.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
guys seemed like they were having tons of fun up there. They were smiling. There were like financial noises going on, like noises like that.
And the green visors?
The green visors and the
so much, it's just too bright. I think we need to move the TV in front of the
Oh,
window.
gosh, the TV has been the issue, yeah.
Maybe we'll start smoking cigarettes or something.
No, thank you.
Really make it old school and little.
Glass of whiskey.
Yeah, it's like, it smells like cigarettes. Or like cigars, maybe
Whiskey
it's
and
more of a
cigars.
cigar thing.
Yeah, maybe some more cigars.
You know,
you're
because that
right.
gives it like
Yeah, that has
a, lends an
like a-
air of.
I'll bring cigars. You let me
Good,
know.
good.
I mean, I'm down for the whiskey. I'm not gonna smoke a cigar.
Well, thanks, I don't know
That's a
if we'll
good
put
healthy decision.
this together for tonight, but this was helpful.
Yeah,
so
really.
Yeah,
whole
thank you.
bunch.
Pretty sure those finances will come together pretty quickly.
And
this
in
time.
order.
So, you may not be able
I
to
really
read
think,
that.
They might not be correct.
once we get some numbers for 23, so we know where we stood, and we get a budget book, I think we can rock this out in a couple of meetings, honestly.
Yeah,
It's
I guess
just-
that third one might just be a placeholder, and hopefully the first two we can knock it out, or at least get enough of a heads up on what you need to know for the next one. I would also,
I was just gonna tell everybody, because I told Charlie, but I'm gonna be gone from the 20th to the, so I'm gone during bad times. Like, I'll miss the council meeting and I'll miss the 22nd, but I will watch them all.
Okay.
When I come back.
and I know I saw you guys an update for last week, which I'm getting through, but one of the big things, now that we're in budget season, and I've sort of gotten to see the finance department a bit, and eventually, I know we're reposting the finance director position. I think I mentioned the last finance committee meeting. There's a couple other, blocking and tackling positions I feel like we need in here, like Ashley and Deb, they're keeping the checks running, but they're not able to get to the higher level work that we need as part of the reconciliation, as a part of, hey, there's a Higgins trust, and it's supposed to have X amount of dollars, and that could be here, and that's gonna be like 2 days of work. As somebody's sniffing around, and if they're always, are always just getting the day-to-day checks, like, we're not gonna get to those other pieces. So I'm looking to put together kind of a resource capacity building, proposal, in addition to, maybe we hire some temps to help out with some of those other pieces. Maybe we, in addition to hiring a finance director, posting it, we put some other postings out there for maybe a staff accountant or another assistant treasurer, so that we have, a finance department. I think a lot of the reasons from the admin side, from other staffers that were kind of, I need an admin assistant, I think you all heard that, on there. And I kind of heard it when I was watching previously, but like, what is it they're gonna do? And I think a lot of it is kind of, things that used to be handled in finance when the both of you were here, like now kind of been absorbed by the departments. That was like a response to handle their admin. And that could be a way, but also maybe those need to be here and it's centralized. Like, we don't really have our full grants analysis. Like, finance doesn't know what the grants that were, every department is put in there. So fire, public works, planning, they should have a lot more. But that's another thing we're gonna put on them. So how do we have right-size that unit to do that in the near term, where we have an enormous pile to dig through, but then also right-sizing it for longer-term, projects which may not be part of the current reconciliation in the cash analysis, but, tax receipts reconciliations, a lot of these other things, your cash analysis you talked about, Michelle, last week in projections, and, some things that are really gonna be, need to be owned within that department, so that everything else kind of works around here. So I'm doing a lot of time in this week on kind of what that proposal might look like, what the budgeting and financial implications, that might be something that's new in the budget book, coming forward, so, yeah.
To speak to that a little bit, it's obvious the way it's been done isn't working.
Yeah.
So maybe trying heavier personnel might be a chance of success. But certainly, it's been a mess for a while. And so repeating the same activity is not a real sensible approach. So growing that department or restaging that department or recategorizing things is certainly a viable option to smooth that rough road out. Maybe it doesn't work, I don't know, but the way it's going isn't working until you started putting a focus on this. So trying new things in the next year, I would think would be in order.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's kind of the way I'll send you. I got a whole, and I've shared it with the team already. I don't think they've read all 65 pages yet, but 63. 63, good. It's kind of
The last page just says the.
Yeah.
I've got two things for it. One is the short read, which is a case study about the Massachusetts RMV and using Scrum or Agile approaches to get a problem that had existed for a decade. And to your point, Steve, on just, hey, like somebody would come in, I'm the new head of the RMV, and they'd have what they call a waterfall approach, and they'd put out a big timeline, and they put it this, and these are the things we deliver. And in the history of mankind, none of those Gantt charts, waterfall approaches, has ever actually succeeded. But people keep using them, and they keep hoping that if maybe if we just hire a new finance director, that's gonna, all of a sudden there'll be new policies. It's much more, I think, organic than that, and Agile Scrum and this kind of sprint cycles is really meant to be like, hey, what are the big stuff we need to do to accomplish big things here? Like, what is the 25% most important part of that? And let's hit that first. Let's really start getting, then we're gonna sprint for 2 weeks and then kind of examine how much we were able to accomplish in a group. I mean, today with the department heads meetings, we were adding 4 or 5 things. When we bring them back in, we're probably gonna be adding more and more things and kind of get a sense of, at this team's level, what our velocity is for creating change. And solve. And then also what we did badly, to your point, Steve. Maybe this temp idea is a good idea. Maybe we spend 6 or 7 days with Carrie and trying to work it out, and it's just wildly expensive, and we got to go a different route, and we got to throw it off. Or maybe we feel like in the interim it's really important, and we can make that. And that was the difference maker. And I think even just the last week and how much I've been learning about finance and where we're at, there's been 3 or 4 times I was like, oh, that's a key piece. That's a great idea. But we'll have the space, and this is why Agile Scrum works, is you're really trying to see how fast this team can accomplish what it's setting out to accomplish for itself, and then you take a little bit of a break to analyze where we're at, and if we're still in the right direction, pivot on sprint after sprint after sprint. And I would also say, I know it's a ton of work for this team and for others, but also I feel like it's the right kind of work, but at least for me, the type where we're coming in there and we know we're accomplishing things as opposed to you're just hoping that some individual is going to come into the organization and solve it. So, and that not just this team, but a lot of people across the organization are coming together on it. So,
Very good. Well, thank you guys. Thanks very, very much.
And to just elaborate a little bit, like at the finance meeting, not only is this process changing, but you have people smiling and enjoying the process. That's huge. That's just huge.
Watching the facial expressions.
You're not time to make the donuts. Everyone's got their hand on the wagon, pushing it in the same direction.
We all set?
We'll see you in 3 weeks.
Thank you.